the top with Ginetta, and unfortunately the great momentum. Antonio Almeida taking over the top with straight out of the pits and into the gravel. Marcus Fothergill came in going the leading car and handed straight out of the pits and into the gravel. Marcus Fothergill came in with the leading car and handed it over to Dave Bennett. Bennett taking over and unfortunately wouldn't hold on to that lead. We had some great battling as well between the BMWs as hold on to that lead. We had some great battling as well between the BMWs as Bernardo Passano was leading that class. However, soon we'd see a change of position. Of course, Bernardo Passano was leading that class. However, made the move. Soon we had see a change of position. A rally crossing moment as well from the Kia of Andre Ferreira. We had a rally crossing moment as well from the Kia of Andre Ferreira. Cost him a shot at the win as he continued to stay off the podium for the time being. Eventually he'd get away around Dave Bennett. Continued to stay off the podium for the time being. Eventually he'd get away around Dave Bennett. Land GP's Ramiro Garcia Pumarino sweeping around the outside of Rui Morita for the lead. Land GP's Ramiro Garcia Pumarino sweeping around the outside of Rui Morita for the lead. Ditto actually, the Ferreira Kia would start really to struggle down for pace at the end in the last phase. Ditto actually, the Ferreira Kia would start to slow down to the Chefo Sport Ligier of Alejandro Ribas. But at the front of the field, it was a brilliant drive home from Ramiro Garcia Pumarino. Ramiro.
Gran victoria para vosotros, que después de los males, las dificultades de ayer, hoy una recuperación grandísima.
Sí, la verdad que ayer tuvimos muy mala suerte. Ángel hizo pole, rompió motor, estábamos los dos para estar ahí arriba y tener una lucha de equipo que nos hubiera encantado. Y hoy hemos decidido correr juntos para disfrutar de esta afición tan bonita que tenemos y sobre todo para, si sirve a lo mejor como ejemplo para los demás, para que vean que no solo se ganan las carreras, sino también teniendo un tío así al lado.
Bien. Y cuando empezaste la carrera, desde el último, ¿pensabas poder ser posible ganar la carrera?
Bueno, lo soñaba, lo había mentalizado, pero visualizado una vez y otra, pero bueno, era una cuestión de intentar poner el ritmo. Yo no conocía el coche, había dado 10 vueltas con él y bueno, hasta que me he hecho a él y luego ya he podido ya tirar, o sea que muy bien.
Muy bien, muchas gracias. Hasta luego. So you can see that the operation is on here in the LAN GP team. It was a great, as I told this, it was a great win for them. They start from last. They didn't even thought about it. Of course, they dream about it, but it was not their goal. But they did it, and they are very happy with all the afición that we have here. So back to studio.
Well, what a fabulous win it was for the Land GP car. As we alluded to, Lanchares and Ramiro Garcia Pumarino going from last to first over the course of that 50-minute race. They will be thrilled with that. Next up then, we will focus in on the GT4s of Iberian Supercars on their separate grid, and the amassed fans and mechanics and etc. making their way down there now to see the cars up close and personal. Will be another full grid for these GT4s, and on pole position it is Philip Varver for NM Racing Team. That could be a great opportunity for them. They had great pace yesterday, especially Varver, and he will be starting from pole position alongside Gianfranco Motorsports, Alexandre Aria. That's a really compelling front row of the grid, not just in terms of drivers, but also teams. Of course, NM Racing Team, a fairly new outfit still. Neil Montserrat controlling that from the stern. And then you've got Gianfranco Motorsport with so many decades of racing experience. You can go back through entry lists in the late 20th century and see them entering cars like Ford Sierras in national touring car racing and things of that nature. The Gianfranco name has been ever present in Portuguese and Iberian motorsport competitions, and they've been really successful here in Iberian supercars over the last few years. The last couple of years they joined in 2025. Thomas Teixeira for Speedy Motorsport will line up third on the grid. Fourth will be Jan Duran for Promotion Motorsport. That, I think, is their best starting place of the season so far. Jan Duran and young Eric Genet. Anton Moorsing in the car that was on yesterday.
Después de la victoria de ayer, ¿podremos pensar en otra victoria para hoy?
Bueno, sin duda vamos a intentarlo con toda nuestra energía. Tenemos el handicap que tenemos que conseguir recuperarlo en pista, pero esperamos poder hacerlo. Lo importante es no meterse en líos.
Con este calor que se siente, ¿piensas que los neumáticos tienen una importancia mayor?
Sí, de hecho probablemente yo sea menos agresivo en el primer stint para dejarle gomas a mi compañero suficientes para llegar a final de carrera. Es muy importante.
Okay, gracias y suerte.
Gracias.
So Jaime Garcia won the race yesterday, and he will try to win the race again today, but is aware of the handicap that he has, and also the tires will be an important factor for this race. So back to studio.
Yeah, interesting factor as always, the handicaps, and that will be one of the big players in this race, particularly if there's a safety car, as we just saw in GTC and TC. If there is a safety car period, that can really throw askew the effect that the handicaps have. Everyone now being taken off the grid, so I don't think we're going to get another interview in, unfortunately. Thank you, as always, for your efforts down there on the grid. The handicaps are as follows. SMC Motorsports, Rafael Riani and Luis Aguirre, after yesterday's win, they have 130 seconds worth of handicap. They're also only starting from 10th on the grid, so I think they're going to have a difficult race unless they can make some good progress. Aguirre, of course, and Rafael Riani in that car, 130 seconds for their pit stop, 125 seconds for the pole-sitting car of Philip Vava and Thomas Granzella, the NM Racing team Mercedes car number 15, and a 3-second handicap, 123 seconds for Speedy Motorsports, Cesar Mercado and Thomas Teixeira, who line up third on the grid.
Neil, yesterday it was a good race for you. And today you are starting from the pole. What are your prospects?
Yeah, yesterday was a very, very good race. P3 overall, P2 category. Also very good race with the other two cars. Today, Philippe, pole position. We are very happy, and I think we have to keep the first position. Try to keep the first position. It's not going to be easy, but we will try hard.
Where do you think will be your main concern?
I'm sure the Toyotas are pushing a lot. The Toyotas have a very, very good performance. We also, and we will fight to keep the Toyotas behind.
Okay, thank you and good luck.
Thank you.
And back to studio.
So then Nil Montserrat, the team boss, who we've alluded to, the NM Racing team head honcho, who also races occasionally with the team, is once again in the GT2 European Series this year, if memory serves me correctly. At the very least, the team is with their Mercedes-AMG GT2. Nil, who has long been an established racer here on the Iberian continent. It's been good to watch him evolving into the boss at that team. To go back to the matter of handicaps, we talked you through the GT4 Pro handicaps. There is Pro Bronze to consider as well. The 11 car, Jose Carlos Perez and Francisco Abreu, they start 7th on the grid. They've got 10 seconds of handicap because they won that class yesterday. Gianfranco Motorsports car, the Alexandra Aria car that starts on the front of the grid, that has a 5-second handicap. They were 2nd in Pro Bronze yesterday, and so that car will have 125 seconds total in the pits. SMC Motorsports, Alfonso Colomina and Luis Mas have a 3-second handicap, so a total of 123 seconds in the pits for them. In the bronze class, the AutoWorks Motorsport car, Hector Hernandez and Borja Hormigos, they have a 10-second handicap, so 130 seconds. Ricardo Costa and Andres Prieto have a 5-second handicap, the 97, and Luis Caleros and Paulo Macedo have a 3-second handicap in the 38 Veloso car. Right. We're about to go racing. Let's talk you through the grid. For pole position, Philip Vava, the number 15 NM Racing Team Mercedes, looking for a victory here. Can they do it here today? Certainly the Pacers look strong with the number 15. And it is a win that he and Thomas Granzella are looking for from pole position. Second on the grid, Alexandra Aria in the first of the Pro Bronze cars, the Gianfranco Motorsport machine. Thomas Teixeira, 3rd place. Speedy Motorsport car on the 2nd row alongside Jan Duran for Promotion Motorsport, their best opportunity of the season so far. Anton Mursing in 5th position for Racar Motorsport alongside Orlando Bettina of Bettina Racing in 6th place. Francisco Abreu, P7 on the grid in the first of the Toyota Gazoo Racing Supras. Ivan Velasco is 8th. He is the pole of the bronze runners, 8th overall and first bronze on the grid. Luis Mas in 9th position. It's an all SMC Motorsport McLaren row 5 with the 27 of Luis Mas and the 25 of Luis Aguirre there in 9th and 10th. Luis Tavares 11th on the grid for Speedy Motorsport in their Supra, and then Joel Bergstrom in the Supra that he and Roberto Faria are driving this weekend after issues with the Aston Martin in Portimao. Borja Hormigos is 13th on the grid in the AutoWorks Motorsport BMW. Andres Prieto 14th in the 97 Mercedes. Mario Pinazzo lines up 15th in the NM Racing Team Mercedes, alongside Luis Leveau for Montelos Competicios in the number 52 Aston Martin. The 26 Rodrigo Almeida starting all the way down in 17th with a lot of work to do. The Toyota Gazoo Racing Catano Portugal car that he shares with Kiko Mora. Kian Potes, the CV Performance Group JP Motorsport Mercedes, is 18th on the grid. Then it's Jean Garcia Sanchez, the first of the 2 AM cars here this weekend, the SMC McLaren. Paulo Macedo for Veloso Motorsport is next in 20th. Javier Macias Amores in 21st, and another car that we can expect to come up from the rear, Ruben Costa in the number 3 Speedy Motorsport Porsche, only 22nd on the grid with some work to do. So the GT4 division of supercars Iberia this weekend, only the supercars Hispana classes to have to consider. Which is good news for, I think, some of the strategists who don't have to think about multiple championship permutations at once, and the commentators. But we are loving the action so far here at Jarama. This is the final supercars race of the weekend. The GT4 division, always a fitting conclusion to proceedings. We are here at Circuito del Jarama. We are in 2x2 formation. And is the safety car peeling off? Yes. We are going to go racing. Philip Vava has control of the field immediately. We go to full speed. It's a good start from Orlando Bettina. He's had a really good getaway. It's very close on the far extreme right as they run down to the first corner. Philip Vava should have the lead. He's got the inside line. And it will be Vava with an early race lead. Aria second, Teixeira third, Jan Duran in 4th place. But it was a really good launch from Orlando Bettina off the line. Hasn't really capitalised though. He remains side by side for 6th position. Everyone else working their way through the order. Ruben Costa has gained some places in the Speedy Cayman already. He's moved up 3, maybe even 4 spots as they run through the first sector for the first time. Bettina there looked like he was under some pressure. Yes, he is. One of the McLaren Arturas right behind him. That was Luis Aguirre in the Pro Class car, who's trying to move through the field as quickly as he can. Everybody has made it through, although I think Rodrigo Almeida has lost time on the first lap. He's right at the back of the field and about 3 seconds off the next car. So Almeida's had some drama. A bit of a sideways moment there from the Aston Martin of Ivan Velasco, who we just see through shot ahead of the Luis Tavares Speedy Motorsport Supra. As they come across the line for the first time with a nice advantage, it is Philip Varver. He's built 1.3 seconds worth of gap on the first lap. Alexandra Aria remains in 2nd place. Then it's Teixeira. Then it's Jan Duran in 4th place. Jan Duran will be hoping to stay there. And we've got a move for 7th place there, I believe. Luis Aguirre up into P7. That at the expense of Orlando Bettina. Gradually extending his advantage at the 4 of the field. Alexandra Aria in that 2nd position overall. Of course, overall positions matter to all racing drivers, but what's important to him as well is holding on to that Pro Bronze lead, and he's currently got 3 cars between himself and the next Pro Bronze entrant, that being Francisco Abreu. So he's in a fairly comfortable position and doesn't really have to worry too much about Philip Varver ahead. Certainly, I doubt he's going to let Teixeira and co go through without a fight. Now, Luis Aguirre has moved up to 7th place. We saw him diving past Orlando Bettina at the first corner on the previous lap. Can he close in on the back of this leading queue? The top half dozen or so have broken away from the field, or more accurately, Philip Varver has broken away in the lead, and then 2nd through 6th are in a queue. And certainly the SMC Barcelona McLaren would like to be in that as well. Luis Aguirre would like to hand this car over to Rafael Riani in as good of a spot as he can to try and replicate the joy of yesterday's race victory, but he's got work to do, especially with a 10-second handicap to serve in the pit stop window. Philip Varver managing that gap at about 1.5 seconds right now over Alexandra Aria. Teixeira doesn't seem to have the pace to really challenge Aria right now in 2nd. The pair of Evo 2 spec Toyota Supra GT4s, the dominant car on the grid where it comes to numbers, as is often the case down here in Iberia. No fewer than 6 of them on the grid this weekend. It's Portimao, where we also had the Supercars Endurance and Portugal Velocidad points up for grabs. That number was up over 10 Supras on the grid. The field streams through then, all 22 parties. Actually, only 21 parties still running. Rodrigo Almeida, we said that he dropped off the back of the pack. Not only that, but he's in the pits and is now a lap down. I think Rodrigo Almeida has had a technical issue of some description. I'm sure Jorge will be down there in due course with his cameraman to try and find out for us what's gone on there. But the Toyota Gazoo Racing Catano Portugal car, the 26th Pro Class entry, unfortunately not taking any further part, at least the front running positions. They might try and get it out there to score some points, but once you've lost a lap in a 50-minute race, that's basically final. Off the circuit goes the 70 car of Jean Garcia. Off track, and off track some more. McLarens have never gone rallying to my knowledge, but that was a close approximation. He has rejoined at the rear of the field. We keep an eye on progress of Luis Aguirre, 0.6 back now from the Supra of Francisco Abreu, so he has caught up now with that top half dozen. Just a bit wild and loose there under braking for the first corner, but kept the car on track. And you often see that actually with the McLarens. The fastest setup for them involves quite a lot of counter steering under braking. I think they run quite a lot of rearward brake bias to get the car turned in for the turns, but of course the side note of that is that you can sometimes really have to battle the car under braking. Mercedes at the front of the field is actually losing some time to Alexandra Aria now. After initially putting the gap out, it's just on 1 second, so I've lost about 6 or 7 tenths over the course of the last couple of laps, has Philip Varver. Now, is he playing the long game here and looking to hand over a nice fresh set of tyres to his teammate Thomas Granzella, or is he just struggling out there a little bit? Certainly your teammate will always thank you in a multi-driver race for handing over the car with a nice cushion to the rest of the field, but not if it's come at the expense of any tyre grip to work with. Of course, these cars all running on the Pirelli P0s, bringing the Supercars series in line with really the entire global GT4 system. A look to the inside there from one of the McLarens. I think that was the SMC Motorsport car of Luis Mas going for 11th place. I don't know if he got the better of that. He was racing with Andres Prieto for P11. Meanwhile, has been right there on the back of Jan Duran, who hasn't had the pace to match the top three. Duran has fallen back away from the top three in the big BMW and is some 2.3 seconds back from Thomas Teixeira, under quite a lot of scrutiny from the Dane Anton Mersing. I don't know that Mersing will be keen to just bide his time. He'll want that 4th position. He'll want to hand the car over to Matthew Martins in as strong of a place as he possibly can. They were so close to winning yesterday, that 77 crew, Mersing and Martins. And then there was a collision between themselves and Aguirre coming out of the Farina Bend. And I think maybe some damage to the Aston, or even just triggering the pit lane limiter by accident. Whatever it was, the Aston ended up finishing well outside the top 10. I think today is about avenging the loss of that victory and getting some good points on the board. On that latter note, Mersing won't want to lose too many points. They had a rough time at Portimao, so Mersing and Martins, last year's overall champion, of course, any hope of winning a title this year, they need to avoid losing any more points. So while moving up the field is probably for the best, of course, more points, better chance of prizes, they also don't want to risk a lunge for 4th place that then becomes a DNF. Mersing having to hoe that line, as it were. There is Jan Duran running in that 4th place with Mersing behind him. Aria still right there with Philip Vava. Vava's actually gained a little time in that final sector. The gap was 0.6, it's now out at 0.8. But it doesn't seem that those Supras are shakeable for Philip Vava in the Mercedes AMG. Vava, who is a professional race engineer, he'll know that car very well. He probably did most of the setup work, as to the inside of Velasco goes Luis Tavares. Tavares moving up into 9th position there with a dive at the first corner. So Velasco down a position, now has to look out for Andres Prieto behind him and Luis Mas and also Joel Bergstrom as well. You can see there, as soon as the move was made, Tavares has dropped the anchors and gone for it. He had the speed, he was just in the dirty air, stuck behind that Aston Martin. You can also see there the Artura of Luis Mas, which looks very quick. And certainly being driven hard by Mas. Can he find a way past Prieto ahead of him, or Velasco? Velasco certainly looks like he's under threat here and under duress from Prieto directly behind him. That is for 1st and 2nd in the bronze class, incidentally. The NM Racing Team Mercedes against the Aston Martin, but the McLaren trying to play spoiler. So Luis Mas wanting to make up overall positions, while Prieto is trying to claim the bronze class lead from Ivan Velasco. Prieto there going to the inside, but I think that had a lot more to do with defending than attacking, to be honest. The rest of the field come through shot at the first turn. Bergstrom there on the back of McLaren now. It ebbs and flows in this battle pack. There's a move to the inside from fast lead from Prieto. Didn't quite get it done. Velasco holds on to the bronze class lead and 10th overall for now, and he gets some assistance now in the form of Luis Mas trying to get himself past Prieto. That's going to hold up the NM Racing Team Mercedes a bit, as he now has to go defensive. Some regards, it may be worth allowing Luis Mas. Oh, Mas getting onto the grass there. Cost himself some time and almost went off the track as a result. I was going to say that in some regards you could say, well, why doesn't Prieto just let the McLaren through and then try and follow it past the Aston? But with Joel Bergstrom right there with them, you can't afford that kind of move. He has the inside line, though, for the final corner. It's side by side. They stay in the throttle, both of them. It's a drag race down to the first corner. The Mercedes has the inside. This is for the bronze class lead. Andres Prieto with a nose ahead. Velasco in the in the Aston Martin on the outside line, and he's lost the bronze class lead to Prieto of NM Racing Team. Lewis Mass is trying to follow him through as well. Lewis Mass in a pro bronze class car, so it's not for positioning category. But that's Ivan Velasco down 2 spots in quick succession. And the bronze class lead now with Andres Prieto in the NM Racing Team Mercedes. Prieto also up 10th overall with that, and the NM team now leading in 2 different classes. They're leading the overall order, of course, with Philip Vava in the Pro car. Now they have the bronze lead, courtesy of Andres Prieto. That said, Philip Vava is only half a second clear of Alexandre Aria, who looks increasingly racy behind him. Last lap for Aria, a 1:40.098, which makes him the quickest driver on the circuit. Vava is under a significant amount of pressure at the front of the field. It was 0.5 of a second as they came across the line. Again, Aria marginally quicker than Vava on the previous lap. We now join that leading dice. The overall leading car, the pro class leading car, under pressure from the pro bronze leader, Alexandre Aria. He wants to hand the car over to teammate Nuno Afonso in the best position possible. We've seen some magic from Alexandre Aria already this season. Is a quick driver. Of course, they were the overall winners in race 2 at Portimao. They're familiar with being at the front of the overall order. The 4 car, Thomas Teixeira keeping a watching brief in 3rd position in the yellow, black and white Supra. In just over a minute and a half's time, the pit window will open in this race. So next time by, drivers will be able to pit if they so choose. We'll see who decides to take that early. I would think that both Vava and Aria will hold on for a while. Here's Ivan Velasco now under pressure from Joel Bergström, trying to sweep around the outside line. And that's Bergström up another position. Roberto Faria, of course, taking that car over. Bergström currently in the slightly strange position of being an Aston Martin Academy driver in a Toyota after the Aston they were meant to drive at Portimao had technical issues that were yet to be resolved. Pit window is now open. Or rather, sorry, not yet open, but not far away from opening. Indeed, as the 20th minute comes to an end, or we have the pit window opening now. So at this point, the pit window does open, and any drivers who are yet to pass the pit entry can peel in this time if they so choose. Will anyone make the call to stop at the first opportunity? Yes, actually. Anton Mursing has pitted to hand the car over to Matthew Martins. Ditto, Joel Bergström wants the car in Roberto Faria's hands. course, Martins and Farrier last year were teammates for much of the season, and it was Farrier who really helped Matthew Martins in what turned out to be a championship season for the Frenchman. Matthew Martins, who was last year's overall Iberian Supercars champion, having been a runner-up in 2024, having had success in Carrera Cup France, in the Ligier European Series as well. Quite the glittering resume for Matthew Martins. Follow there the 85 Mercedes and the 36 Mercedes. Those cars further down the field, both running in the Pro Bronze class. Mario Pignazzo in the NM Racing Team car, Chiampotes in the CV Performance and JP Motorsport combined entry. Orlando Bettina there, getting a bit wayward through the bend known as Monza. He's chasing Francisco Abreu. Abreu comes into the pits this time, so he's handing the car over, the Pro Bronze entry. Also in, as we saw, Cesar Mercado will take over the number 4 because Thomas Teixeira has pitted. The pit stop's ongoing. There is the 27 car of Luis Mas, which is yet to pit. Everyone at the front of the field is staying out for now, with the exception of Teixeira, of course. He pitted from 3rd. I'm quite interested to see what Jan Duran and Eric Genet can do with the rest of this race. They don't have any penalty, whereas Philip Varver does. Most of the cars around them do have penalties. Jan Duran currently roughly matching the pace of Philip Varver. And Eric Genet will take that car over. We've seen what Eric can do, of course, in TCR Spain and TCR Europe, where he's won races. Still learning the ropes of rear-wheel drive GT cars, but handing the car over to Genet with no penalty, just the base 2-minute time. I think that BMW could certainly be a factor for a podium in the overall standings for this race. As a reminder, our leading car, Philip Varver, has a penalty of 5 seconds to contend with. Alexandre Aria has 10 seconds when he brings the car in. Of course, there will be driver changes there as well. Philip Varver will hand his car over to Thomas Granzella. Apologies, it's only a 5-second handicap for Nuno Afonso and Alexandre Aria, so they both have 5 seconds extra to serve in the pits, and that should put Eric Genet ahead of them. You see the McLaren of Luis Mas still on the back of Andres Prieto for what is currently 6th overall, but of course that's partly because of the pit cycle. Some side-by-side action as well, as Borja Hormigos makes his way past in the 40 car. That was Enrique Oliveira losing out. Those two having pitted already. That's Hector Hernandez in the BMW now. Borja Hormigos started the car. Half distance in this race as we get a look back at Velasco lapping one of the AM class BMWs. Leaders continue on. We've just gone over the halfway threshold in this race. So 25 minutes in the books, 24 and a half left to go. 27 car of Luis Mas has been in battles pretty much since this race started. Luis hasn't had a dull moment here. He'd like to get past Prieto before handing the car over, I'm sure. Of course, Mas will pass the car on to Alfonso Colomina. Colomina, who we've previously seen racing in the GTX division, of course. He was in an older SMC Barcelona McLaren in years gone by. Colomina, long-standing part of the SMC Barcelona tapestry. You see there the 722 car now being driven by Roberto Faria, and Faria is applying pressure to Jose Carlos Perez in the number 11 Gazoo Racing Toyota. Just behind them lurking is the Rafael Riani McLaren. So that car is also on the same lap as them, but with that 10-second handicap that they had for winning yesterday's race, Aguirre and Riani stopped 10 seconds longer, and with it they have lost some time. Now, have our leaders pitted yet, or are they going right to the end? They have pitted, so Thomas Granzella has been in, as has Nuno Afonso. See where Eric Genet comes out relative to them. So I think that could be one of the big stories for the second phase of the race, what Genet has available. Some great racing here between Faria and Jose Carlos Perez. Faria feeling the pressure. Rafael Riani wanting to get involved as well. There is the 77 car. Matthew Martins, who's right there with Cesar Mercado, and just behind them is Genet. So that is 9th, 10th, 11th for now, but these cars are all going to be in podium contention very shortly once the pit window is over. Indeed, Thomas Granzella is going to be exiting the pits here in the next few seconds, and where will he come out relative to Mercado, to Martins, to Eric Genet? That is going to be a big question. The answer might determine what the second half of this race looks like. They come down the main straight now. I think Granzella is just about rolling in the pit lane. Yes, there he is coming out of the pits, and it's going to be a change of race lead in favour of Cesar Mercado once the pit window has ended. There's still a couple of cars that are ahead of them by dint of serving their pit stop late, but Mercado effectively is now your race leader. However, he has Matthew Martins right behind him. Martins is pressuring the Toyota driver. Eric Genet has assumed what will be third position. He's holding that off from Thomas Granzella, who's 5 seconds. Oh no! Matthew Martins with a puncture! Oh, their season has been snake bit so far. This weekend in particular. They were so close to winning yesterday. Then that last lap contact cost them and seemingly damaged the car, and now a puncture on the 77 Drakkar Aston Martin. Matthew Martin's Iberian Supercars title defence is proving to be a tricky one. This weekend only counts towards the Supercars of Fana points, but all the same, he is having a wretched season so far, along with Anton Morsing. And he hasn't even got it in him to take the car back to the pits. He draws it up on the grass and unfortunately not in a great position. I fear we're going to go to safety car here. If he could just back up a bit, he'd be close to a access road and they could maybe pull the car back behind the barriers, but I think we're going to have to go to safety car. There we see the 25 car of Rafael Riani on the back of Jose Carlos Perez. Roberto Faria has already gotten past. So Perez has lost out to Faria. They're still racing. We are still green. Yet to see any indication of a safety car. I wonder if perhaps Matthew Martins has continued. Under green flag conditions for now as Cesar Mercado leads this race. Eric Janet, of course, has been promoted to second as a result of Matthew Martins' puncture. And drifting out wide there was Jose Carlos Perez. Of course, that's a pro bronze entry, so they're not necessarily fighting for class honours here because Riani behind him is a pro driver. Really lacking for hitting apexes at the moment, quite frankly, Jose Carlos Perez. And there is a very dejected Matthew Martins walking away from the 77 Aston, and he's going to be wondering what we have to do to get a good result in the fourth this year. Coming out of Jarama, their best finish still 8th overall, and that was last time out at Portimao. So with the pit stop window now concluded, Cesar Mercado leads this race and the pro class by 2.3 seconds for Speedy Motorsport. The promotion Motorsport BMW Hispana car of Eric Janet is next. Thomas Granzella in 3rd position. Nuno Afonso, the pro bronze leader, runs 4th overall, 3.7 seconds clear of Nuno Perez, but I think Perez is gaining marginally. And that could be interesting as the race goes on. João Branco runs 6th overall for Speedy Motorsport in another of the Toyotas, but he's being hunted down by Roberto Faria. Sure enough, here they are on screen, 6th and 7th position, and Faria with a bit between his teeth, wanting to get himself at least into the overall top 5, currently running 7th in the grey Supra. Continue the rundown. Jose Carlos Perez runs 8th, Rafael Riani 9th, and Alfonso Colomina rounding up the top 10 ahead of Ricardo Costa, who took the 97 NM Racing Team Mercedes over after Andres Prieto's stint. And Costa now leads in the bronze class with a comfortable margin as well over Vasco Oliveira, about 5 seconds back from him. 5 seconds and numerous cars between them, I should say. They're closing in there on one of the McLarens that is a lap down. That could be a factor. Or are they going to go either side of the McLaren? I think there that off track went João Branco trying to avoid the McLaren. He did go off track. I think Faria did as well. João Branco off the circuit. You just saw him go 2 wheels on the grass to avoid the McLaren as we cut away. And the number 5 car of João Branco has unfortunately had a moment. I think we're getting a replay of what happened here. Yeah, Branco just pushed off. And nowhere really to go as the McLaren of Alejandro Dent just didn't spot that the Toyota was there. I think Faria went off the circuit as well in kind of sympathy almost. Only now gets himself past the McLaren. That would have been a heart-in-mouth moment for both parties, particularly not just heart in mouth, but extremely frustrating for João Aguirre Branco, who was fighting for 6th place and now finds himself in 13th. Roberto Faria has now moved up to 6th place, but he's got some work to do now to close in on anybody else. 5.6 seconds between himself and Nuno Pires ahead. And if he wants a pro-class podium and the points that come with it, he's got to make up the better part of 10 seconds on Thomas Granzella, which is a long, long shot. Granzella just hunting down Nuno Afonso. This is for 3rd overall. Afonso, the AM half of the Pro Bronze, or the bronze half of the Pro Bronze lineup in the Supra. Might not make this too hard for Granzella, to be honest, because the more pressing issue is, well, about 5.5 seconds further back, and that is Nuno Pires, the next to the Pro Bronze entries, and Pires is the pro in that car. There are realistically 2 schools of thought. Nuno Afonso might want to let Granzella go so that he can focus on getting good laps in, but to be fair, Granzella's not exactly closing in rapidly. Or you leave Granzella there behind you, and you hope that Nuno Pires has some real trouble getting around the Mercedes. Certainly with Granzella not exactly homing up to the rear of Afonso, I suspect that the latter will be the case. In fact, the last couple of laps, Granzella has been slower than Afonso. We join Vasco Oliveira in 14th overall. He's just behind Guillermo Aso, who runs 5th in the Pro Bronze class right now. Oliveira is 2nd in the Bronze class. He's got, as I mentioned earlier, about 5 seconds between himself and Ricardo Costa, the NM Racing Team leading bronze car. And I'm sure that Guillermo Aso will have even more prerogative to not allow the red Aston through. This is more of an orange Aston, but either way, the NM Racing Team driver Guillermo Aso, I think, will be getting the instruction, keep that Aston behind, so that we can try and get Ricardo to the top step of the podium along with Andres Prieto in that bronze class. At the front of the field, the pace is near identical between Cesar Mercado and Eric Genet on the previous lap, but they actually just crossed the line again, and Genet took almost 4/10 out of Cesar Mercado, more than 4/10 out of Cesar Mercado. Now, is Mercado just managing, or does Eric Genet have something here for the last phase of the race? That could be interesting if Genet can fight for the win. Mercado, of course, one of the mainstays of Iberian supercars. A very fast driver at that. Some gravel kicked up there by somebody, didn't see whom. But Mercado versus Genet at the front would be very entertaining. Eric Genet, one of the brightest young prospects of Iberian motorsport, going up against the experienced Cesar Mercado. I would pay for a ticket. I think this stream is free, huh? Gap down under 3 seconds between them now as we go into the final 10 minutes of this race. We See a replay here of... okay, this is where the gravel was coming from. It was an off-track moment for the Supra of Jose Carlos Perez, yeah. And Alfonso Colomina now right behind him, challenging for a Pro Bronze podium. So that might be an interesting story. Cesar Mercado and Eric Janet's gap continues to shrink. There they are going through shot. It was another 4 tenths and change taken out of Mercado by Eric Janet on that lap. If Janet can get there, we could be on for a grandstand finish here in the Supercars Hispana. Part, of course, of the Iberian Supercars series. We have 3 championships encased within Iberian Supercars. There's the main Iberian Supercars points, there's Supercars Hispana, and there is the Portugal Velocidad series. And it's only the Spanish championship, the Supercars Hispana, that has points on the board today. One of the McLarens having an off-track moment there. Was that Alfonso Colomina, potentially? That would make sense. I'll watch the timing screen through the first sectors to see if that was Colomina. I think he is the one that's dropping, yeah. Alfonso Colomina with an error then. And that will drop him to 5th in the Pro Bronze standings. He was right behind Jose Carlos Perez a few moments ago, but that's no longer the case. Some investigations ongoing for overtaking under yellows. Car 97 and car 44. And the 97 is Ricardo Costa, the bronze win leader. So that would be a big drama if they get a penalty. Nuno Alfonso is the pro bronze leader, 3rd overall. So that is also quite a big scalp if there is a penalty. We'll keep an eye on that. No confirmation of anything other than an investigation for the time being, but we'll keep our eyes peeled. Eric Janet's last lap was slower than that of Cesar Mercado, so the seesaw swung in the direction of Mercado again now. Was Cesar Mercado simply managing for later in the race? It's certainly a possibility. Mercado, who previous years here in Iberian Supercars, of course, has been a champion. He won all 3 championships in 2024. Last year he won the Portuguese series, the Campeonato de Portugal de Velocidad, the series that scores points within the Iberian Supercars. And you don't get those accolades without knowing what you're doing, so Mercado might just be waiting a little bit here to make sure he's got some tyres at the end of the race. Now, what are the sector splits doing on this lap between them? Oh, it's gone down a lot! It had gone down a lot anyway. It went down to 2.0 seconds, but as they came through the start-finish line, it extended back out. So I think both Mercado and Janet may have been tripped up by traffic in consecutive sectors there. That's a move for position. Nuno Perez losing out to Roberto Faria for 5th overall. Faria up to P5, so he has managed to make up what was a 6-second gap. Unfortunately, he has 8 seconds now, effectively, between himself and Thomas Granzella, who sits in the 3rd place spot in the pro class. So I think a class podium, a bridge too far from Roberto Faria, but as we see so often here in Iberian Supercars, we're getting a showcase of the class of Roberto Faria, a driver who I know struggles a bit where it comes to budget. We saw that last year. kind of ran out of budget, unfortunately, and couldn't complete that campaign to win the championship with Matthew Martins in the Iberian Supercars. But we know what he's capable of, and with the right backing, Farrier could really be a little superstar in GTs. Always a solid hand in single-seaters, but has taken to GTs very handily as well. There's quite a British following as well, does Farrier. Studied at Farnborough. Also quite popular up in Liverpool. But the Brazilian racer, certainly someone with a lot of potential and talent. The gap has shrunk a little bit between Mercado and Eric Genet. .8 at the line. Again, I get the distinct impression that Mercado is just managing this race, but Eric Genet showing that he can match the pace and even surpass it a lot of the time. Ian Yangaran, certainly a strong pairing for this year, jumped out to me on the entry list for Portimao's potential championship favourite. We didn't really see that materialise at Portimao, a 7th and a 10th place finish, but their first podium is forthcoming, and from there you can build. Momentum is an underrated and simultaneously vastly coveted tool in motorsport. Knowing you can do it versus actually doing it are two very different things. Knowing you've got the potential versus having the trophy on your mantle, two very different things. If they leave with a trophy, they will have a lot of momentum to carry going forward. This is Guillermo Aso continuing to hold off Vasco Oliveira. And Aso, I think, now has quite an important job, because only 1.5 seconds clear of him is bronze class leader Ricardo Costa, his NM Racing team teammate. They've both been closing in on Costa, Guillermo Aso and Vasco Oliveira behind him. Of course, Guillermo Aso is a pro bronze driver, and NM Racing team will be willing him on to try and hold off the Aston so that there's no chance of Oliveira getting through for the bronze lead. But Guillermo Aso, side by side now with Vasco Oliveira. Oliveira trying to find room and traction on the outside of the corner. They're still side by side. He's going to sweep around the outside, and he gets the move done. That is critical. Oh, they both go off on the grass, pushing the limits. Now this will be their penultimate lap of the race. And Oliveira in the Racar Aston Martin is, what, 2 seconds? 1.9 seconds back from Ricardo Costa for the bronze lead. Now that's not a small margin, and he's got lap traffic to contend with there through the Ascari bends, but he will push to try and get there if he can. While that's going on, Cesar Mercado is not far away from crossing the line to start the final lap. He does so now. There was a move on there as well between Nuno Perez and Rafael Riani. Riani didn't get through though. Raul Zanzarin is right there with them, and I tell you what, that Porsche has been real quick in the speed traps. It's the only car that I've seen exceeding 240 kilometers an hour at the line. Very quick, that Cayman today. Currently runs 8th overall, but it may yet be 7th, because Rafael Riani is under scrutiny and pressure now. That would be for 5th in the pro class as well, and every point counts. There goes Riani, though, to the inside of the pro bronze car of Nuno Perez. Perez allows it to happen, says, you know what, you guys are not my battle. You go about your business. look at the Speedy Motorsport Porsche being squeezed to the outside. They're still side by side, and it's 2 positions and as many corners for Raul Zanzaren. Zanzaren up into 6th place, and that will be 5th place points in the Pro Bronze division. Very valuable indeed. It is the final lap of the motor race, and Cesar Mercado and Thomas Teixeira are about to claim a victory in Iberian Supercars, their first of the season. They got a 2nd place finish at Portimao. They're going to go one better at Jarama. Teixeira and Mercado, winners for the first time this year in Iberian Supercars. A great result for Eric Dene and Jan Duran to take 2nd position. 3rd overall goes to Nuno Afonso, our Pro Bronze class winner, ahead of Thomas Granzella. P5 will go the way of Roberto Faria. P6 will go to Raul Zanzaren. Rafael Riani in 7th. Perez. Nuno Perez in 8th. Jose Carlos Perez in 9th. And João Aguirre Branco rounding out the overall top 10. But will Ricardo Costa hold on to the to the bronze class win? It looks like he will. He's coming across the line now. Here they go. And Ricardo Costa does just break the beam. 0.7 of a second clear of Vasco Oliveira. I think if you'd given Oliveira another lap, he may have got to the back of Costa. Your AM winners have crossed the line. JM Smurg for Promotion Motorsport. Alejandro Vent, 2nd in that class. But what a win for Speedy Motorsport, for Cesar Mercado, for Thomas Teixeira. I'm sure those two will be celebrating. Here's the order in full then. Mercado crosses the line to win on behalf of he and teammate Thomas Teixeira. Eric Dene and Jan Duran take 2nd. Afonso in 3rd position, winning the Pro Bronze class. Thomas Granzala in 4th position ahead of Roberto Faria, Raul Zanzaren and Rafael Riani. Nuno Perez 2nd in Pro Bronze ahead of Jose Carlos Perez, who rounds out that podium. João Aguirre Branco in 10th for Speedy Motorsport. In 11th place, Ricardo Costa, the NM Racing Team driver who wins the bronze classification ahead of Vasco Oliveira. Alfonso Colomina in 13th place. Guillermo Eso in 14th place. Hector Hernandez in 15th. Luis Caleros in 16th. Enrique Oliveira for Montelos Competicios in 17th place ahead of JM Smurg, the AM class winner. Alex Vent in 19th position. Hirmar Acosta was in the pits, came into the pits after just after taking the car over, sadly, and would be classified 20th. Matthew Martins, of course, a DNF after the puncture right at the start of that 2nd stint. Could he have challenged for the victory? I think he could have done. Unfortunate for Matthew Martins and Racar Motorsport, and Rodrigo Almeida ditto. A big disappointment for himself and teammate Francisco Mora with car issues on only the 2nd lap of the race. But it will be delight for Cesar Mercado and Thomas Teixeira, your overall winners. It will be delight for Gianfranco Motorsports, Nuno Afonso and Alexandra Aria, who win in the Pro Bronze class. And indeed in GT4 Bronze, Andres Prieto with a great first stint handed the car over to Ricardo Costa, who signed, sealed and delivered the bronze victory for NM Racing Team. I'd say some pivotal results there. Promotion Motorsports, Dene and Duran establishing themselves as potential contenders with that 2nd place finish. They'll be looking to get some better qualifying performances on the board, I think. That's really been their main vice so far this season. We go to highlights then of race number 2 of the weekend in the GT4 division for Iberian Supercars, and what a start it was. With everyone compacting together, but the race lead was with the number 15 Philip Varda, the pole sitter in the early stages. Behind him was the pro bronze leader, Alexandra Aria, who had a strong first stint. He was being pursued by Thomas Teixeira in third position, who knew that he had less of a handicap than a lot of those around him. Where it came to the pit stops, in fourth place was Jan Duran for Promotion Motorsport, still getting to grips with that big BMW. Some action further back in the field as well, as the NM Racing team car, the 97, Andres Prieto, moving past the Aston Martin for what was the bronze lead, a bronze lead that would remain in the hands of the 97 across the race. And that Racar number 28 Aston would be under a lot of fire. Joel Bergstrom making his way around the outside to move up to what at the time was 12th position. Towards the front of the field, we saw, again, a lot of aggressive driving from the 722 car, Farrier and Joel Bergstrom. But then, after the pit window, heartbreak, frankly, for Matthew Martins. Tyre goes down, race hopes go down with it. And the 77 Racar Aston Martin withdrawn and left sat idly on the banks. A moment for the number 5 car, João Aguirre Branco, getting squeezed out there inadvertently by one of the SMC McLarens, and that sent him way off track and also spooked Roberto Farrier, who had an off-track moment. But at the front of the field, having taken over from Thomas Teixeira, Cesar Mercado was managing the race brilliantly. On the final lap of the race, Ruben Costa was, or rather Raul Zanzaran, was making up places. But at the front, his speedy motorsport compatriot, Cesar Mercado, took the checkered flag. Eric Dunay with second for Promotion Motorsport, a good result for them. And the Pro Bronze winning car of Alexandra Aria and Nuno Afonso rounding out the overall podium in what was a very scintillating race in Iberian Supercars. And with that, we now conclude the Iberian Super